everybody, it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. Obviously, we're going to be talking about this guy, but first, I did go to the movies. I took Friday off to play Spider-Man, but I did not play very much on Saturday, because Saturday was, I went to the movies, and it took all day, because I saw the new Martin Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon, which is excellent, but it's also 3.5 hours long. I was a little annoyed that AMC decided to play like 20 odd minutes of trailers like they usually do. I'm like, dude, this is already a long experience. Also, the theater was really stuffy and the AC wasn't great. But I'm like, don't play so many trailers. This is a very long movie. We don't want to be in the theater for like 4.5 hours, please. But it is a great movie. It's beautifully photographed, and the score is terrific. The performances are great, obviously. And the true story is just, it's sad and tragic and horrible, and I had no idea that this happened, because this is not something that you learn in American history, because American history doesn't want to teach you things like this, or the Tulsa Massacre and stuff like that. Like, they don't teach those things in American history, because they like to gloss over that racist stuff. So this was very fascinating to me that this happened. Although, as a true story, I was a little nervous, like, as we were heading towards, the hour 3, where I'm like, how is this going to wrap up? Because it can't possibly wrap up dramatically satisfying like a movie, because we have to go with what really happened, which reality is never as dramatically satisfying as a film. So, and, it just was horrible and tragic, and it was really a good movie. Lily Gladstone is totally getting an Oscar for this. There's like no way she's not getting an Oscar. This movie should get a ton of Oscars, I'm assuming. I totally recommend it. I went to the theater to see it because I didn't know where it was going to end up streaming, because a 3.5 hour movie is something you'd probably rather see at home, where you can pause it and go to the bathroom. But it's a Paramount release, but it's an Apple film. And I thought, this is like a prestige project. Apple is totally going to want like exclusive Apple TV Plus streaming rights for it, and we don't have Apple TV, so I'm like, I don't know if it'll show up on Paramount at some point or not. And I'm like, let me just go to the theater, because you also can't rent DVDs anymore. Netflix stopped that. So it's not even like I could say, well, I'll just rent the Blu-ray when it comes out on disc, because nope, that's not an option anymore. So I was like, let's just go to the theater and see it, and don't drink beforehand. So it's excellent. Highly recommend it. You can go to the theater or wait for streaming. It's your call. I just don't know where it'll end up streaming. And then as for games, obviously I was prepping for Spider-Man. I had to finish Sea of Stars, and I did. I reached a point in the story where I finished a mission, and then it was basically like, okay, now... I was a little disappointed, because it had been so clever before with the tropes that I thought it would be cleverer with this trope, but it was just a pop-up that said, okay, you're ready to go, like, finish what you want, and then go to the final castle for your final battle. And I was like, okay, let me see what's what. And there were a couple of things I wanted to finish up before I went to the final battle. One, I wanted to do the rest of the shrines, and that turned out to be a good thing to do, because it got you the best weapons in the game for your two main characters, so that was worth the time. The other thing that I wanted to do was get all the fish, because I had made a point of every fishing area to catch every fish that was available in each area. But the fisherman was like, no, you're still missing one. And I was like, huh? So I had to go, and I went. Thankfully, at this point, you can very quickly travel. So I went and checked each fishing one, and I did find a fishing spot where I did not catch all 3 fish that were available, all 3 kinds. So I did that, and I went back, and he was like, yay, congratulations, you're like a master fisherman. But then you just get this weird item that like doesn't do anything. And I found out later that it's part of like end game content, like post game content that you can use later for some other thing. And I'm just like, well, that was a waste of time. And it's something that I would have gotten a trophy for if I was playing on the PlayStation and not the Switch. But I got the Switch because I didn't want to deal with trophies and have that pressure, which I had said in a previous episode. I appreciated that. Except I did discover there was a book. It looked like the save books, but it was like gold. And it turns out that's your log book. And it keeps track of like how long you've been playing, how many enemies you've killed, how many times you've died. And it also keeps track of like your achievements, you know? And there were a whole bunch at the bottom that I did not get. And it's like, collect all the treasures. And I'm like, oh my God, no, that's not happening. I'm not 100%ing this. So I said, we're fine. I've got my weapons. We're good. And I went to the final battle. And as I worked my way through the castle, I got to the very end, right before the final battle. And they're like, just make sure you're ready to go. And I'm like, okay. And I knew that I was this close to leveling up. So I wasn't going to go out and like grind levels. I mean, I hadn't even tried it yet once, but I was like, I'm this close to leveling up. So I was like, let me just leave, go and get into a fight, come back, and, you know, I'll leave, get into a fight, level up just one more time, and then I'll go in and do the final battle. So I did that just to make sure I was, you know, extra strong. And then I don't think I needed to, because the battle wasn't that bad. But it was weird because it was sort of anticlimactic. Like, it's like you fight the enemy and then they like, oh, this is my final form and now I'm stronger, and you keep fighting them. It's typical. But then after it was over, I was like, that's it? That wasn't that difficult. I mean, props to the game designers for not, you know, making the final battle so incredibly difficult that you had to go back and like try to grind levels or something. It was fine. But it was a little anticlimactic. And then the end of the story, I was like, that's it? And then, not to spoil things, there is one more scene, there's one more battle that I don't want to spoil because it is kind of a bizarre surprise that's like, wait, what? But not a good surprise for me, but it was fine. That was sort of, it was kind of insane and weird. And I was like, okay, points. But then the credits roll. And then at the end of the credits, there's a quick little scene, and then it's like, the end, ? And I'm like, seriously? The end? That's the end? That was nothing. Like, what? And then it turns out after that, then there's like a shot of these 7 pillars, and 4 of them lit up, and there were still 3 more, and it was like, maybe if you light up those other 3 pillars, something special might happen. And I'm like, ah. So I go online to look it up, and it turns out that if you light up all 7 pillars, you get the true ending. The problem is that like one of those pillars is doing all of the arena fights, which I'm like, I hate arena fights. I did like the first round and I was like, no. I just find it boring and repetitive and irritating. It's like busy work. I don't find that fun. I will do something if it's part of a story. The other one I think has to do with the question sheets that I've been collecting that I don't know who to give them to. I don't know if I have them all. I might have to go find more. But the thing that made me realize I was never going to 100% this and get the true ending is because the other thing you had to do was collect all of the rainbow conches. And throughout the course of the game, I had come across enough chests to collect 35 rainbow conches and get a bunch of rewards. The thing is, there's 65 in the game. I believe it's 65. And so I was like, there's no way. I am not sitting here with a walkthrough going area by area, making sure I've collected every single conch shell. Like, that will take forever and be annoying, and that's not worth it. So I was like, no, I don't have the patience for this. Also, Spider-Man comes out in another day, so I was like, forget it. We're not 100%ing this, and I went and watched the true ending on YouTube, and the true ending is better. Like, the final battle is better. It didn't show the final battle because that would take time. But the final battle, I think, it looks like that was a more satisfying final battle. And then afterwards, you get like the same surprise battle at the end. And then the epilogue after the credits is much better and more emotionally satisfying. But I'm like, dude, no. Because it's really frustrating because I still recommend Sea of Stars. It is a terrific retro RPG. The graphics are lovely. The script is tremendous. It's very clever and witty, and it turns tropes on their heads sometimes, and it's very fun. However, it does not stick the landing. I thought it was really rude to not make the regular ending satisfying and forcing people to 100% the game, basically, in order to get a decent ending. Like, finishing other side quests, okay. Collecting 65 conches, no. Like, that's busy work, that's irritating, and I shouldn't have to do that to get a decent ending to my game. I still recommend it. Just know going into it that you're not going to get a great ending unless you put in a lot of extra effort. But that was the end of that so that I could play Spider-Man. And I loved Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man Miles Morales. So I was super excited for Spider-Man 2. And it is still good. It's the same kind of game. It's just, more of it. New York City is bigger. You get like Brooklyn now, and it's more Queens and Brooklyn. And there's 2 Spider-Men running around, and it's great. I will say in the beginning, like just like the others, excuse me, I am recording a podcast here that is so rude. In the beginning, there's the big cinematic action scene that teaches you the credits, teaches you the controls, right? Then there's credits. So the controls, I was like, thank you, because it's been years since I played the others, so I could use a little help here. And it was fine until like after that, and then it's like there's some cleanup stuff that it still like steers you through before setting you free. And doing all of that, I was like, wait. Then it was like, okay, now here's your gadgets, and here's your skills, and here's your powers. And I'm just like, whoa. Slow it down, slow your roll. This is a lot to remember. Like, the left bumper is powers, and the right bumper is gadgets, and pressing the buttons does different things for different things, and it's like all the combinations and everything. And I'm just like, it was okay up to that point, and then all of a sudden it was just like, here's a lot more controls to learn. And I was like, whoa. So I ended up dying a couple of times with stupid street thugs because I couldn't remember what I was doing and what the buttons did, and I was like, and it was just a lot. And it wasn't until after it said, okay, now here you are set free, enjoy yourself. That's when I started to learn the proper powers and stuff. And then I was able to figure it all out, and then I was able to get more used to the different things, and I'm still getting used to it. But at least now I can do it at my own pace with smaller scale enemies and not doing huge story missions where I might get killed. But it is like one of the best Spider-Man movies. It's just cinematic. It's so great in the writing and the performances. It's all really good. Love it. Obviously, one of the first things that I did upon getting, as soon as the initial cinematic ended and I had control over Spider-Man and I'm web swinging, of course the first thing I'm going to do is like take a picture. So I tested out the photo mode, and I tried out the new poses and stuff, and they're really fun. And it looks like he's flying, so it's not great, but I, of course, took a picture right away. And I will have to say that in the days leading up to the release, I was seeing some virtual photography. I follow a lot of virtual photography accounts on Twitter, and I was seeing some Spider-Man pictures, and I was like, dude, like, I did not know that villain was going to be in this game. Spoilers. But thankfully, that villain is the opening villain for the opening scene. So I was like, okay, it's not that bad of a spoiler, but still, rude. Like, there's one account that I follow that's like, we're not posting any Spider-Man photos for like a week so people can enjoy it and get into it and be surprised and not spoil things. Because there are going to be spoilers, because there's additional enemies that are in the game that you don't know about that somebody's going to post a picture of. It's rude. The photo mode is tremendous. I'm trying to take very like non-spoilery photos, so I'll take like portraits and test the lighting and everything. Or I'll post like a generic photo of just like webbing generic enemies and fighting and stuff and like that sort of thing. I also had to take a picture. I found, obviously, because now they have Brooklyn, I had to go and find Park Slope. And I found Prospect Park and the Arch and the library and everything was there. But the park itself is not correct because everything is all reduced because Brooklyn is tiny. So, like, there are no... My husband's like, did you find our house? And I was like, no, you can't find our house because it's like there's no brownstones anywhere. Like, it doesn't do that. So that doesn't quite work. But New York is huge, and there's so much to see and do, and I'm very, very having fun with it. Oh, the other thing that I did as soon as it became available, because once it started adding like the skills and the abilities and everything, I was like, where in the menu do I change costumes? But you had to basically progress in the story enough to unlock costumes. And then as soon as I had that ability, I was like, no, we are unlocking Spider-Man's classic costume, comic book style, because I don't really like the video game costume with all the white. I just never liked it. So when I played Spider-Man, I played it with the regular costume until you kind of had to have the white costume, and it was like a story thing. And then I'm like, okay, fine, I will use the white costume for this bit. But normally I like the regular costume. I'm classic all the way. And I'm not playing with any of the weird costumes. But yeah, Spider-Man is terrific, and I'm enjoying it so far. And hopefully I will continue to get the hang of the very complicated controls and figure out what powers and abilities work best for me. And then I will be able to defeat more villains and save New York. This has gone on way too long, so I'm going to shut up now, and you can come back next episode where I'll have probably much more to say about Spider-Man. Bye!